I put like one of those flicker lights in it, but also like I get distracted. I'm like, I think I'm too much of a cat to have that going on. But if it's behind me.
But you don't have your shiny halo anymore.
I don't. I like spent like an entire month just like painting this room and making it like my little oasis that this is the new background.
Nice.
Lovely. Amber, I believe 341818 is Counselor Diaz.
I was wondering about that.
Excellent. So it looks like the gang's all here. Let me just give the agenda a once over. All right. In that case, good evening, everyone. I hereby call this January 26th meeting of the Council of the City of Lancaster to order. Mr. Harris, would you please call the roll of members?
Yes, Mr. President. Mr. Roya.
Here.
Ms. Beke.
Here.
Ms. Craig.
Here.
Ms. Diaz.
Here.
Mr. Garcia Molina.
Here.
Mr. Soto.
Here.
And President Smith-Waddell.
Here. All right, we move to the approval of the minutes for the January 12th, 2021 meeting. I'll hear a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Council comments. Okay, hearing none. Mr. Harris.
Mr. Roya.
Aye.
Ms. Beke.
Aye.
Ms. Craig.
Aye.
Ms. Diaz.
Aye.
Mr. Garcia Molina.
Aye.
Mr. Soto.
Aye.
And President Smith-Waddell.
Aye. That brings us to proclamations, honors, awards, and resolutions of recognition. Mr. Harris?
We had none tonight, Mr. President.
Excellent. That brings us to our first public comment period, which is reserved for those persons who have contacted the city clerk prior to the meeting to request the opportunity to address council. I believe we have one tonight, Mr. Harris.
Yes, we do, Mr. President. One was submitted in writing, and I've been asked to read that. And,
Please proceed.
Amanda Alexander of Landis Drive writes, the pandemic has impacted most citizens negatively these past months. A new policy from the natural monopoly Xfinity Internet in my area has brought data caps, higher prices, which were expected, and a new imposed fee if customers opt out of renting Xfinity's X-Fi modem and router. I live in an area of Lancaster City where Xfinity is the only option for high-speed internet. Verizon's option of 25 megabytes per minute service is not feasible for two adults working from a home and a child learning virtually from home as well. The internet options after Verizon just get worse from there. There are no fiber optic connections. No fiber optic options for us. With near constant internet use, Xfinity's 1.2 TB data cap is too low for many local households, including mine. Moreover, Xfinity has forced its customers to either agree to these terms or buy their new unlimited plan for an increased fee and new rental fee for their X-Fi modem and router. Customers can opt out of the rental by paying the additional $30 fee to use their own hardware. Xfinity consistently has terrible customer service and there is no resolution. They know customers like me have no other choice but to fall into line and comply. My family did just that. We opted to rent their equipment and purchase their unlimited service. However, after installation, it was found that their equipment was inferior to ours, as we are no longer receiving the speeds for which we're paying while using their equipment. Again, Xfinity's customer service is horrible, and no resolution could be made but to send their equipment back and again fall into line and pay the ridiculous $30 additional fees to use my own equipment. I don't know how or why this is legal, but it is occurring during a pandemic when families are vulnerable and financials are short. My son is learning virtually from home, and my husband and I both work from home due to the pandemic. Our internet usage is constant. please, for families like mine and everyone suffering from this natural monopoly, Xfinity, in our area, allow other high-speed internet providers into all of Lancaster. Give all of us citizens fiber optic options or other high-speed cable options. Allow other internet service providers like Verizon, Fios to place their fiber optics throughout the entirety of Lancaster and give us citizens true options for internet service providers. Or please finish Lanc City Wireless because as it stands, Xfinity is a monopoly and Lancaster citizens need more competition. Thank you.
Thank you. We move then to reports requested by council. Mr. Harris?
We have none tonight, Mr. President.
And do we have any interim reports of committees of council?
We do.
Mr. President, the Finance Committee has an interim report.
Thank you. Before you do that, Councilor Beke, I'm remembering now that I neglected to mention at the top of the meeting that at 5:30, council held an executive session in which we were informed about ongoing litigation by our solicitor.
I can understand you much better if I can get familiar with the way
Oh,
you talk.
come on, seriously?
Was that me?
No, that was me. Sorry about that.
Oh, okay. My phone talks to me too sometimes. Sorry about that. Anyway, Councilor Beke.
But okay, thank you. There's an interim report from the Finance Committee, Mr. President. As you are aware, the city is self-insured for workers' compensation costs, and every year funds to pay workers' compensation claims are included in the individual department budgets, but those claims are ultimately paid from the administrative services budget. So each quarter we shift money from the departments where those injured workers have made claims to the administrative services budget to cover the cost. For the fourth quarter of 2020, workers' comp claims were made by city police officers and firefighters. A total of $48,191.07 is being moved from those department budgets to administrative services. Because the money is being moved between departments, this requires city council approval. So I make a motion to approve the fourth quarter workers' compensation transfers totaling $48,191.07 as proposed.
Motion
Second.
to approve.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Oop, I'm at a bad angle. We have a motion and a second. Council comments from the public? Hearing none. Mr. Harris?
Mr. Roya,
Aye.
Ms. Bacon,
Aye.
Ms. Craig,
Aye.
Ms. Diaz,
Aye.
Mr. Garcia Molina,
Aye.
Mr. Soto,
Aye.
and President Smith-Waddell.
Aye. All right. That brings us to our legislative agenda. Ordinances for final passage. Can y'all hear me? Zoom is telling me I'm muted.
We can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay, great. Administration Bill number 1, 2021. Mr. Harris.
Yes, Mr. President. An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Lancaster, amending Chapter 142 of the Fire Prevention Code to incorporate the 2015 International Fire Code, including Appendix Chapters A through M, replacing the previously adopted 2009 International Fire Code, repealing inconsistent ordinances, providing for the severability of the ordinance, and providing that the ordinance shall take effect in accordance with the laws of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. I'll hear a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Councilor Garcia Molina.
Thank you, Mr. President. So we've talked about this one a little bit from the past two meetings. It's pretty straightforward. It's a language change in the fire prevention ordinance to include the language of 2015. I believe Chief Little is with us today. If we don't mind adding him in. Great. And then he'll get down to the details for us.
Good evening, Chief Little.
Good evening.
Good evening, Chief. How are
Very
ya?
good. You?
Not
Good.
too bad.
So yeah, thanks again for the opportunity to come before you and talk about the reason why we want to see the change of the fire code ordinance. What we're doing is updating to the 2015 standard of the International Fire Code. We currently operate under the 2009 edition. Building and codes within the city operate under the 2015. So we're just trying to align with other departments within the city, since our fire marshals and the building code officials all work together. So we're all operating out of the same manual. Is there any questions?
There is no questions from me, Chief. Is there any questions from the rest of council?
All right. I'm not seeing any council comments. So from the public? Okay. Hearing none. Mr. Harris.
Mr. Roya,
Aye.
Ms. Baker,
Aye.
Ms. Craig,
Aye.
Ms. Diaz,
Aye.
Mr. Garcia Molina,
Aye.
Mr. Soto,
Aye.
and President Smith Waddell.
Aye. All right. Thank you for your time, Chief.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you. Thank you, council.
All right. Moving right along. Bill number 2, 2021. Mr. Harris.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Lancaster, amending Chapter 198 of the Code of the City of Lancaster, Noise, Section 198.7, Variances and Noise Control Board, application and fee to authorize designee of the Noise Control Board to grant special variances and to require that all variances be issued with a condition requiring lowering of noise upon verified neighbors' complaints, providing for the repeal of inconsistent ordinances, providing for the severability of the ordinance, and providing that the ordinance shall take effect in accordance with the laws of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania.
I'll hear a motion.
Motion to approve?
Second.
All right. We have a motion and a second. Councilor Craig.
Thank you, Council President. This proposed amendment will improve the administration of the noise ordinance by separating the administrative granting of special variances from the enforcement of those noise ordinances. The amendment will reassign the administration decision-making for granting special variances from the Police Bureau to Department of Community Planning and Economic Development. The Police Bureau will still remain the enforcer of the ordinance, but it will alleviate the administrative burden and clarify roles. Additionally, the amendment establishes conditions for all variances that allow the police to terminate events when applicants do not comply with orders to reduce levels of noise. That is all I have, and I don't know if anybody wants to add anything to it.
Council comments?
I have a question,
Councilor
President.
Diaz, please.
Is this referring, just to make myself clear here, is it only when there is an event, or is this was this any event in, in the city, in the residents, or?
It's any event that, I guess a good example would be any special event that's held downtown that has a concert that's going after 10 o'clock at night, or in the neighborhood. And so it's a request for permission to have a noise variance would go through the Community Planning and Economic Development Department rather than the Police Bureau for approval. And that would also include series of events. So Music Fridays, or Friday nights, like Marion Court regularly asks for a variance for having a live band. So it's both community events that restaurants or bars are hosting in the downtown, or any planned event in which there'll be amplified sound in any of our neighborhoods. Does that help, Counselor?
Yeah, I just wanted to be sure that I mean, it does say Black Party, church, carnivals, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Councilor Diaz. Okay, are there any comments from the public? Okay, hearing none. Mr. Harris.
Mr. Royo,
Aye.
Ms. Bakay,
Aye.
Ms. Craig. I'm sorry, Ms. Craig,
Aye.
Ms. Diaz,
Aye.
Mr. Garcia Molina,
Aye.
Mr. Soto,
Aye.
and President Smith Waddell.
Aye. Okay. Moving right along, Bill number 3, 2021. Mr. Harris.
An ordinance increasing the indebtedness of the city of Lancaster, Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, by the issue of a guaranteed water revenue note in the maximum principal amount of $10,550,000 for construction of various structures and facilities to improve the city's water system, fixing the form, dates, interest, and maturity thereof, making a covenant for the payment of the debt service on the note, providing for the filing of the required documentation with the Department of Community and Economic Development to incur and exclude additional debt of the governmental unit, providing for the appointment of a sinking fund depository for the note, providing for the authorized signatories, and authorizing execution, sale, and delivery thereof.
Mr. President?
Councilor Bakay.
Yes. Bond counsel has provided each of us with a black line version of this ordinance authorizing and directing the issuance of the PennVest Guaranteed Water Revenue Note, series of 2021, in an original principal amount not to exceed $10,550,000. Such ordinance was introduced as Administrative Bill number 3 of 2021 before this council on January 12th, 2021. I hereby move to amend the ordinance labeled Administrative Bill number 3, 2021 to include the additions, deletions, and other changes referenced on such black line version of the ordinance, which will be reworded with the minutes of this meeting and which can be summarized as follows. In the first whereas clause, adding, quote, an emergency to the description of the capital improvements and adding, quote, such as the replacement of water lines in and around the community known as Colonial Manor, end quote, as an ongoing and emergency capital improvement project. My motion.
Second.
Okay, so there is now a motion and a second. Mr. Harris, we treat this as an amendment, yes?
Yes, there would be a vote on the amendment.
Excellent. So we have a motion and a second on the amendment. Are there any council comments on Councilor Bakay's amendment? Are there any comments from the assembled public on Councilor Bakay's amendment? All right, hearing none, Mr. Harris, Mayor.
Just to say that we accomplish in a week what usually takes several months. And I want to just acknowledge and thank the team that's been involved from DPW and Patrick and really everything related to money, and Barry for pulling this all together. We had a pretty significant water emergency that you saw summarized in an email earlier this evening, indicating that we had already 9 water main breaks in this neighborhood. And our ability to come up, I mean, the only reason we can do this is because of PennBid and our ability to save money initially, which we shared with you at the last meeting, to have freed up capacity in this borrowing to do another critical infrastructure project related to water service. So I just want to thank Steve and your team and Patrick and Barry for shepherding this process through very quickly. It was a huge lift to make this happen last week. Thank you.
Excellent. Mr. Harris.
On the motion to amend, Mr. Royo,
Aye.
Ms. Bakay,
Aye.
Ms. Craig,
Aye.
Ms. Diaz,
Aye.
Mr. Garcia Molina,
Aye.
Mr. Soto,
Aye.
and President Smith-Waddell.
Aye. All right. So we now have the amended motion on the floor. Are there any council comments on the motion as amended?
I'm sorry, the amended bill.
The amended bill. Thank you. God bless Bernie Harris. And from the public. All right. Hearing none. Mr. Harris, one more time.
On the amended bill. Mr. Arroyo,
Aye.
Ms. Bakay,
Aye.
Ms. Craig,
Aye.
Ms. Diaz,
Aye.
Mr. Garcia Molina,
Aye.
Mr. Soto,
Aye.
and President Smith-Waddell.
Aye. Okay. I believe that concludes our legislative agenda, which naturally brings us to the report of the mayor. Mayor Sirachi.
Good evening, and thanks everybody for an opportunity to share a few quick updates with you. So last week I delivered my third State of the City address. It was really different than in years past, and I missed all of you. You can watch it at Lancaster Block by Block or on the City of Lancaster's YouTube channel. And there's a couple of things that I just didn't have a chance to fully highlight in the State of the City that I wanted to give you a more detailed overview of this evening. And one of them is Engage Lancaster. So when obviously COVID hit and we couldn't gather in the same ways through town hall meetings and neighborhood group meetings and in-person city council meetings, we were really challenged because we had some significant projects that we needed to move forward because of grant deadlines to expend funds and things like that. And we needed to come up with a way that we could continue to solicit public input and feedback and move these projects forward. And that gave rise to an investment in an online platform that's now up and running called Engage Lancaster. And you can see information about a host of projects and priorities, and you can engage with those projects and with others who are interested and who are caring and commenting on those projects. It becomes a valuable way for the city to get feedback as we advance these priorities, and it gives all of Lancaster's residents and stakeholders an opportunity to engage in a way that's visible and tangible. You can sign up, and I encourage every council member to sign up at engage.lancaster.com and check out the open projects and share your thoughts. Those projects range everything from the Community Police Working Group strategic plan to our Vision Zero project list, and many more projects that we have teed up to move online. And I hope that the public and you as council members will find this an advantageous way to keep up on the status of so many different projects that are moving at once within the city of Lancaster. More than 200 people have registered in the past couple weeks, and with more than 100 users just last week alone. And so I hope that you will help me by joining and encouraging everybody you know to join. Often we find that people find out about projects very late in the game. This is a way that we can continue to educate and provide opportunities for input and feedback throughout the process of engagement. And so I hope you all will take advantage. And I'm sorry, Amber is correcting me. It's engage.cityoflancasterpa.com. So cityoflancasterpa.com. Thank you. Thanks, Amber. Thanks for keeping me on my toes. The second thing that I wanted to highlight tonight is our language access plan. So this all started with Lancaster becoming the first Pennsylvania certified welcoming city by Welcoming America. And the language access plan was developed while we were seeking that certification. So we've surveyed our staff, and 70% have requested to have documents translated for their departments. And so we are continuously trying to prioritize based on our capacity for translation and what Zyra can do and what we can afford to pay somebody else to do, to translate just a very long list of documents. So these tools are being progressively implemented across all of the departments. And we are planning to recertify in September 2023, which now doesn't seem that far away. This is super important, obviously, for civic participation to overcome language barriers that keep people from participating. Accountability, we want to communicate with those who have limited English proficiency. Strong neighborhoods to help form relationships and strengthen our bonds among neighborhoods and our government. And it is also something, language access is both about equity and inclusion, which obviously are huge priorities for us right now. I want to just acknowledge the work of Zyra Folu, who is in the process of setting up trainings across the city now to learn how to use Proprio, which is the language access line that is readily available to all of our staff when they encounter a resident who needs translation services in really any language spoken across the globe. This is an opportunity for our staff to learn how to use the language line, and that continues to support our overall language access plan. So the language line is one part of it. Continued translation of forms and other documents that we can make publicly available is another. And then obviously the training for staff about how to utilize these tools and really become more accessible to the public for whom English is not their first language. And lastly, you're going to be hearing more in the coming weeks and months about the city's comprehensive planning process that's kicking off with an incredible committee of residents and staff that are leading the way. And the committee of folks that have been assembled to participate in this process is really, I'm so proud of the diversity of representation from literally every corner of the city, whether they're a resident, a business owner, somebody who's a longtime resident in the city, somebody who's just moved to the city. We've really assembled a great planning team. So the last comp plan, as you know, was done in 1993. The comp plan is meant to reflect a community consensus about the direction for future growth and community development in Lancaster over the next 20 years. The plan is going to contain policies around zoning, economic development, housing, transportation, the environment, and other factors that impact the quality of life of Lancaster. And I'm really excited about this comp plan because there's been a lot of disparate planning efforts that have been happening across the city. And this is a way to bring them together under one umbrella with a vision that really reflects the community's input about where do we want to see ourselves in 20 years. This entire process is kicking off thanks to a $75,000 grant that we received from Partners for Places, and that has been matched 1-to-1, which is a requirement of the grant from the High Foundation to ensure that that plan is grounded in equity through an innovative planning process that involves the city's, as I mentioned, diverse communities, especially our underserved communities that have not typically been engaged in these types of planning processes or visioning in the future. So we've also received additional funding from the Free Foundation, which we also greatly appreciate. So I want to just thank the funders, the staff, and the community volunteers who are leading the way on this. There will be much, much more to report to you. And Chris Dels is obviously leading this effort and is bringing a wealth of experience to this effort from his work in DC that we are benefiting from, as well as I'm going to rope Steve Campbell in as they have jointly worked on comp planning efforts. And there's just a huge opportunity within the city to really align our planning efforts between this comp planning process, community planning, economic development, as well as our infrastructure that is overseen through the Department of Public Works. And that is something that I'm truly excited about because that is also going to help inform our long-term, and this is something we're going to also be talking about later this year, our long-term capital improvement plan and the budget to go with that capital improvement plan to support the infrastructure needs and other amenities that city residents rely on every day. And so that is just to give you a prelude to what additional conversations we'll be having about capital budgets, about comp planning in the months ahead. And that concludes my report, President. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, so much. I do not have a report this evening. Council comments? Going once, going twice? I did skip over, and I apologize for that, our second public comment period. So we'll do that now. If anybody has a comment, which of course they will keep to 3 minutes, and begin by giving us their name and the location where they live, they can either raise their hand or call in now, and I'll wait a few seconds for that. My apologies for taking the meeting out of order twice tonight, councilors. Okay, hearing and seeing none, I will move us to council comments. Just to check, did any members of council have a comment they wanted to make at this time? All right, in that case, I will hear a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, everyone, we are adjourned. Thank you and have a good evening.
Have a good night.
God bless everyone. See you Monday.
Hey, everybody. Thank you.